This mistress, holding a pregnancy test, showed up at my door, all smug, demanding I step aside. But little did she know, I was thrilled. Who wants to be an unpaid housewife anyway? Not me. I signed the divorce papers super quick and took off with my share and my daughter, living my best life. Barely a month into being single, my ex regretted it, and now my dream guy was after me. Life's good. Some say marriage is like a fortress, people inside want out and those outside want in. I used to disagree because I didn't want out. Everyone envied my married life. David and I met during our internship, fell in love gradually. Everyone who met us said we were a perfect match. We had a cute daughter, and life was just getting better. After David left his job to start his own business, things took off big time and we were doing really well. 6 years into our marriage, we had a house and car in a top-notch city, living comfortably without loans. Even with the little tiffs, I shrugged them off. Who doesn't have little spats? I thought my life would stay calm and I'd grow old with David. Until I saw that message on David's backup phone. It said, "Nina relies on me, she wouldn't dare mention divorce." Sent to Amy. I wasn't sure if Amy was the woman, but looking at her profile picture and scrolling through her posts, I almost lost my footing. Amy was the receptionist David hired a few years back when he started his company. She thought David was single and was all over him until I found out. David fired her immediately. I thought she was just a fleeting part of our life. Who knew this side role was getting herself more involved? Her social media was equally telling. 3 days ago, Amy posted photos of her trip to the Lee River. David had left a week ago, saying he had to prolong his stay in France to entertain clients due to changes in plans. A couple of weeks back, Amy posted a food gallery, dining at a Michelin restaurant. Coincidentally, David came home late that night, sending me a photo from the same place. Even the dishes looked identical. I couldn't scroll any further. I took screenshots and sat bewildered. I couldn't resist and texted him, "Who are you really in France with?" David didn't reply right away. I waited over 3 hours. Finally, he sent a question mark, followed by a snarky complaint. He said I spent my days not working, doubting my husband instead, while he's out working hard. He even told me to use my time for beauty treatments, suggesting I look in the mirror. It was a voice message. At the end, I heard a woman's laughter, faint but there. David hadn't even bothered to hide he was with someone else. My heart grew cold. Maybe seeing I hadn't replied, David called later that evening. "I'm out with clients today. You texted when it was busy, can you blame me for getting mad? Don't take my words wrong, but am I right or am I right?" Hearing these words left me breathless. It was the same pattern every time we argued. Maybe with Amy in the picture, I started to realize David had grown impatient with me long ago. Faced with conflicts, he always pushed me to doubt myself, asking if he was wrong, or if his points were incorrect. I'd always end up apologizing, thinking it was my fault, that I shouldn't have started the argument. Looking back, I was too soft, afraid disagreements would wear out our relationship, so I compromised time and again. Hearing my silence, David grew impatient. "Why so silent again, Nina? We've been together so long, is this really necessary?" I replied, "Got it. I didn't think such a simple question would upset you. I won't ask in the future." That remark quieted the other end of the line. David was probably surprised by my response. After a few seconds, I said, "I've got to cook for our daughter." I hung up without waiting for David's reply. As usual, I made dinner for our daughter, helped her with a bath, watched some cartoons, and read her a bedtime story. When she finally fell asleep, I got some time to myself. According to David's plan, he was supposed to fly back today, considering it's our daughter's birthday soon. This year, we promised to celebrate properly together as a family. I decided to give David one last chance, for my sake, our daughter's, and the sake of our family. The next day, I bought balloons, ordered a cake, and got our daughter a teddy bear she had wanted. She hugged me, excitedly asking, "Mom, Dad is definitely coming back for my birthday, right?" I couldn't bear to let her down. I gently ruffled her hair and assured her, "Definitely." For the past years, David had been too busy with his company, often gone before dawn and back late at night. Not only missing birthdays but sometimes not even being able to visit when our daughter was sick. We had missed so many of her birthdays, so this year was supposed to be special. After our last phone call, I didn't bother David again. I just asked him in the evening, "Have you booked your flight yet?" David immediately sent me his booking details. When I saw the flight time, I felt relieved. David would be back tonight and wouldn't miss our daughter's birthday. On a whim, I opened David's spare phone. Sure enough, Amy updated her social media. She posted a selfie. In the sunlight, she looked so radiant, with glowing white skin. Underneath, she wrote, "Keep partying, don't stop." I suddenly let out a sigh of relief. Maybe it was all in my head. Perhaps, them both being in France was just a coincidence. I chuckled and shook my head, put the phone away, and went to cook for my daughter. That night, I waited on the couch for a long time, half awake and half asleep. Before I knew it, it was morning, and David still wasn't back. I checked the time, it was 5:30 a.m. My phone was silent, with no messages or calls. I tried calling David, but all I got was a phone's switched-off message. I checked Amy's social media again. Above her previous photo was a new post, with a line and a photo. I told him to stay, and so he did, because I'm his treasure. In the photo were two hands intertwined. Amy's hand had an 4 in it, while the other looked plain, but it sent chills through me. This was David's hand. I couldn't help but laugh. After all these years, I knew this man so well, even just by his hand. How ridiculous that my husband wasn't with me, forgetting our daughter's birthday, just to be by that woman's side. In June's warmth, I felt like I'd fallen into an ice pit. Pushing past the heartache, I scrambled to screenshot the post, sent it to myself, and then deleted everything. I was in a daze, sitting in the living room for who knows how long, until my daughter ran into my arms, her little voice asking, "Mommy, when is Daddy coming back?" Her words jolted me awake. Would this man who ignores his daughter even remember me? "Wake up, Nina, he's already changed. He's become someone I don't recognize." I took a deep breath and set the chaos aside. Whether David came back or not, I was determined to give my daughter a happy birthday. I stroked her hair and said, "Daddy's flight got delayed, but don't worry. Mommy will take you out today." I immediately booked tickets to the amusement park and took my daughter out. We had loads of fun there, and she laughed so much. We set off fireworks, had a big meal, and shared birthday cake with some new friends. The park staff also wished her a happy birthday. My daughter's cheeks were rosy, her eyes sparkling with joy. Looking at our happy selfie, I told myself, "See, even without David, I can make my child happy and find happiness for myself too." Sitting on a park bench, thinking about our marriage, I suddenly realized it wasn't just David who had changed. I had changed too. I used to be this bold and lively woman, but I got softened down, labeled as the perfect wife and mother, all so I could hold on to what I thought was a cozy, sweet home. What a shame that I'd trusted the wrong person. It's time to end this. We stayed out until dark, and on the way back, my daughter fell asleep in the car. I carried her inside. David rushed up to us, clearly panicked. "Where have you been? I couldn't reach you since your phone was off." I avoided eye contact, knowing I might lose it if I looked at him. "The kid's asleep, keep it down." After settling my daughter, I walked into the living room. David was gearing up for an argument, but I cut him off with a single question. "Do you even remember what today is?" David froze. We stared at each other for over 10 seconds before it hit him. "I'm sorry, I forgot." I laughed. "No need to apologize, your heart's clearly not with me or the kid." David got defensive, jumping up. "I'm out there busting my ass for this family, for you and the kid to have a good life." "Nina, isn't that unfair of you to say?" Laughing through tears, I said, "We've known each other so long, been married for years, let's not beat around the bush. When did you and Amy hook up?" David looked shocked and panicked, fumbling for words. What Amy? What are you talking about? Did you two have fun at Lee River? Is her illness better? You stayed with her, changed your flight, and turned off your phone so I wouldn't find you. You two must really be in love. David looked completely dumbfounded. Like a stranded, ugly fish gasping for air. Disgusting to look at for even a second. No more excuses. Didn't you tell her I can't divorce you because I'm financially dependent? I put away my smile and looked at him coldly. I'll print out the divorce papers tomorrow. You should sign them. I'll keep custody of the kid, and we'll split the assets equally. I wish you and Amy all the best. With that, I left him standing there in shock and walked back to my room. I locked the door and let out a deep breath. David was clearly not the type to own up to his actions. He never thought I would choose to confront everything head-on, nor did he expect me to be so resolute. The next morning, I contacted my mom, asked her to watch over our daughter for a while, and went to the local print shop to get 2 copies of the divorce paperwork. Even the shop owner took pity on me after looking at me a couple of times, finally saying, "Think twice if you've got a kid. Divorce can be hard on them." I smiled, I'm doing it for the kid's sake. A dad who can't remember his own daughter's birthday, a husband who goes brainless over another woman's whimsy, why would I need such a man? When I got home, David was already gone. He left me a message saying he went to work. I wasn't surprised at all by his reaction. I just shook my head and smiled as I turned on my computer. Since we're planning on getting a divorce, there are some things I need to pick up again. Back in college, I was an English major and also taught myself a couple of other languages. When David's company was starting, I helped him land quite a few foreign trade deals. And, of course, being family, I worked for free for quite some time. Thinking about how David said I relied on him and was afraid to divorce makes me laugh. Even when I was home with the baby for a year, I did translation gigs online and made enough money for our expenses, with a little left over. I never told David about this because I just wanted him to focus on his career. My consideration wasn't met with gratitude, just betrayal. I opened the folder and deleted everything related to David's company. As soon as I finished, the phone rang. It was David. He asked if the translation for a proposal was ready because he needed it. No, it's deleted. Also, we're getting a divorce. I don't want to hear you call me wife anymore, I said with a slight frown. Deleted? Nina, are you crazy? He yelled. I'm not crazy. But if we're getting divorced, why should I keep my ex-husband's stuff? It's absurd, I replied. You better retrieve that proposal. I need it in an hour. He ordered. Mr. David, I suggest you check your attitude. If you want the translated proposal, pay the market rate for it. He was so angry on the other end of the line. Fine, you just want money? How much do you want? Let's go with market rates. It's over 140 pages. I'll give you a discount, 140,000. His sharp intake of breath was loud. That's robbery. Take it or leave it, I said before hanging up and putting my phone on silent mode. David didn't believe I was serious about cutting ties. He didn't pay up or soften his stance, just texted me saying, "You'll regret this." I chuckled. What would I regret? I don't regret what I invested, because during those years, David and I were sincerely in love. But now, I need to cut my losses. A man who doesn't love me doesn't deserve to be in my world. After working all morning, I grabbed a quick bite and started packing. After 6 years, I had more stuff than I expected. I spent nearly 3 hours packing 4 large suitcases. Then I called my friend and her partner to help me move everything. Betty seemed surprised and asked if I was planning to move. I told her straight up, I'm getting a divorce. She blurted, "Is it because David has a woman outside?" Then she gasped, covering her mouth. I wasn't shocked, as if I expected it. You knew too? When she saw I didn't react too emotionally, she hesitated and explained, I saw them at the train station once. I thought it was you. David explained she was his secretary on a business trip, with others from the company too. Got it, I said, nodding. No worries, you don't have to be tense. After Betty and her partner helped with my stuff, I gave her a big red envelope. At my own place, I sorted everything. Before leaving, Betty told me, Nina, don't be hard on yourself. You're amazing, David's just blind. I didn't argue because she was right. Moving out from that place, I visited my parents for dinner and had a fun night with my daughter. All this time, I ignored David's endlessly calling me. His texts went unanswered too. Even late into the night, he wouldn't stop calling. I walked to the balcony, lowered my voice, and said, What's wrong with you? Don't you know people need to rest at this hour? Why are you still calling? David had never heard me speak so impatiently and was taken aback. Why are you talking like that? Why not? You're no different, I shot back. Okay. My attitude was wrong before, please forgive me, he pleaded. Divorce is a big deal. You shouldn't mess around. Think about the child. We're not dating anymore. Do you want to ruin your child's home? Make her grow up in a single-parent family? How laughable. It seems playing the victim is a common trick for assholes, and David's no exception. Why should I take the blame for his mistakes? I coldly replied, a child's excellence is influenced by their background and environment, but I believe, instead of having a negative example around, a swift divorce is better. Do you want our daughter to be inspired to find a husband like you? Let her hold down the fort at home while her man takes a mistress on a trip. Would you enjoy that scene, David? You might not care about our daughter, but she's a piece of me. I won't let you affect her. David was lost for words. After a few seconds, he panicked, Amy and I have nothing. How about this? I'll check the hotel surveillance where you stayed in France. You know, I have friends who do this sort of thing. I'm still your legal wife, so it should be no problem. If I find nothing sketchy, I'll come home and apologize, and we can continue living well. How about that? He was infuriated. You really want to do this? I smirked. You had a chance, but you didn't take it. What can I do? Let's sign the divorce papers, David. We're adults, no need to make it ugly. After that phone call, David stayed quiet for a couple of days. On the third day, someone added me on message. The verification message said, Sister-in-law, I'm Amy. I'd like to talk to you about something. I was working at the time, just glanced at it, and continued my online meeting. Clearly, her patience wasn't great. She quickly tried adding me from other accounts, turning the verification messages into her own art form. Sister-in-law, you're really misunderstanding David and me. Don't ignore me. I know you're not going to work right now. Is this fun for you? David has been supporting you all along. It's enough. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw the last message. I accepted the request. Soon, Amy texted, Thank you for accepting. I really have a lot I want to say. When I didn't respond, she spammed me with messages. Amy, David and I are really just friends. We met in France, and he took care of me a lot, but we didn't do anything to betray you. You've misunderstood. Amy, I admit, I'm envious of you because you have such a great man like David. I just don't have that kind of luck. Amy, please, don't divorce David, okay? I swear, wherever David is, I'll stay away. I won't interfere with your relationship. I'm begging you. Amy, I don't want to ruin David's happiness because of me. I replied, So according to you, that late at night, you went to David's room just for some friendly chat? Amy, yes, we just talked a bit too long. I chuckled and felt a tinge of heartache. I felt sorry for myself. For years, letting both the man and the mistress think I was a fool. I replied, Well, I hope your boyfriend also has such a close female friend in the future. Me, oh, and I'm screen sharing this on a projector. Amy suddenly went silent. Yes, I didn't tell her that I was interfacing with David's company executives. They needed that tender urgently, and the meeting was about that. David wasn't present, though. My conversation with Amy was seen clearly by the company's management. I didn't mean for it to happen, it was Amy who forced it. Eventually, David's company offered a price I was satisfied with. I retrieved the translated tender from the trash and delivered it with one hand for money in return. I had them wire the payment to my parents' account. Once it's in my account, it becomes joint marital property. But right now, I didn't want David to have a single penny. A week later, David blocked me at the neighborhood entrance with roses. He knew I had a place there but didn't know exactly which building or unit. For you. He handed me a big bouquet of white roses. Come home with me. With people passing by, his gesture was drawing attention. David knew I cared about face. Was he trying to force my hand by doing this? Well, he didn't know me at all. I took the flowers. When do we sign? Sign what? He feigned ignorance. The divorce papers. Seeing my determination, David got furious. Nina, how long are you going to drag this out? Amy was almost driven to suicide by you. I've been talked about at the company, and I haven't blamed you for any of it. What more do you want? When are we signing the divorce papers? I'm done playing games with you. Since you slept with the girl, just take responsibility. You told her I didn't have the guts to bring up divorce. Now I'm the one bringing it up, so why are you still clinging? I looked at him coldly. This time David didn't argue back. So I slept with a woman? Men of my status are always fooling around. You think you're some special case? He paused a few seconds before exploding with anger. He snatched the roses from my hand and stomped them into the ground. I had no reaction, just watched him leave with a cold stare. See, this was the man I'd loved for so long. Now he just seemed hideous. Almost like he wanted to slap me in the face deliberately, David refused to sign the divorce papers and publicly flaunted Amy as the future Mrs. Little Mango told me about all this. At first, I felt a twinge of sadness, but as time passed, I became quite calm. There's too much to do to waste time on a jerk. He wanted to drag things out, but I refused. I spent some money and found Amy's bestie. This bestie was from their group buying socialite circle. They'd group buy bags, luxury teas, post with filters in their news feeds. A girl named Anna was closest to Amy. I handed a thick red envelope to Anna and asked for her help. At first, Anna hesitated but then quickly changed her mind when I gifted her a genuine branded bag. Ma'am, don't worry, I'll do exactly as you said. I felt satisfied. Once it's done, I'll get you a bracelet from the same brand. Anna left, excited. It turned out, there was real talent in that group, and Anna was one of them. Half a month later, Amy messaged me an ultrasound, clearly proud. Sister-in-law, I'm pregnant. It's David's. Can you please let us be? I stared at the message for a while, knowing the timing was right. I went to the office building, deliberately put in some eye drops to make my eyes red, disheveled my hair, then stormed into the conference room and slapped David across both cheeks. David was stunned. In the room, besides company executives, there were board members too. Embarrassed publicly, David was both angry and ashamed. What the hell are you doing? He yelled at me. You're the one who's crazy. You promised me no relationship with Amy, now she's pregnant and came to me. David, do you really not want this family? I grabbed his collar, playing the perfect role of a shrew. David had this smug look on his face. After holding it in for so long, he finally saw what he wanted, me backing down. You don't have kids or a wife now. Go tell that Amy to get rid of the bastard she's carrying. I shouted, not caring about how I looked. David sneered, weren't you the one who wanted a divorce? So, it's not wrong for me to see someone else. Now that Amy's pregnant, what can I do? I gotta take responsibility for her, just like you said, right? Right then, Amy walked in looking all pitiful. David, it's my fault. I just wanted to be with you. I'll go get an abortion. I don't want this son. You and your wife can get back together like I was never here. The little drama queen had tears in her voice, making David feel bad for her. He was both shocked and pleased. Son? Are you sure it's a boy? Amy nodded. I had someone check in Hong Kong. It's a boy. David had always wanted a son, but I never agreed, and the company's been super busy. So, he'd put that idea to rest. Now that Amy was having his son, no way he'd let go. No way, babe. You can't get rid of this kid. You've gotta have him, he quickly told Amy, trying to soothe her. The little drama queen glanced at me, with a hint of triumph, but her voice was still soft. But your wife's here. I can't do this to her. It was Nina who asked for a divorce, not me. David said self-righteously, looking at me. Weren't you nagging me to sign the divorce papers? Bring them out. Let's get this done. I was thrilled but kept my excitement in check. Turning to the other top execs and board members, I said, when the company started, David and I built it together. Now he's all successful and wants to toss out me and my daughter. Please, speak up for me. David panicked. You asked for the divorce. Don't act all innocent and throw dirt on me. Before he could finish, an elder from the board spoke up. David, this is your domestic issue. We shouldn't interfere. But Nina's been with us from the beginning. We know her capabilities and character. She's your wife and mother of your child. Even if you want a divorce, you should handle it well to avoid gossip. He paused, then heavily added, now, the company is negotiating a big deal. Don't let this kind of negative news mess things up. David had nothing to say. I took the chance. You want a divorce, fine. But hand over all your shared assets, and I'll sign. If not, I'm not backing down. I can wait it out, but not sure if your mistress can. Amy was frazzled, clinging to David's arm, shaking it constantly. After a few minutes, he finally nodded, all right, I'll agree to that. In front of all the execs and board members, David and I signed the divorce papers. He left with nothing. The 3 homes we bought after marriage were all mine, and a few million were transferred to our daughter's account. While sorting this out, Amy's eyes were practically glowing with envy. But I knew David had already moved most of the assets, leaving almost nothing for our daughter. What was out in the open was all there was. If I hadn't cornered him today, he wouldn't have given me even this. Sure enough, I overheard David comforting her, don't worry. As long as the company's there, we can earn that money back easily. I lowered my eyes, laughing coldly inside. Earn it back? In your dreams. The 1-month waiting period passed quickly. David and I officially got our divorce papers. At the Civil Affairs office, he deliberately gave Amy a huge bouquet of roses, bigger and prettier than what he ever gave me. Amy beamed, playfully saying, "Oh, thank you, hubby. You're so sweet to me." I put on my sunglasses and walked away without looking back. Just off the steps, Amy called after me, "Nina, next month David and I are getting married. Wanna come?" David seemed annoyed. Why invite her? Aren't you worried she'll crash it? I didn't think of that, Amy replied. I just want everyone to see you and Nina split on good terms. I just want to help ease things for you. So considerate, David was moved. He brazenly told me, "I'll send you the address. Come if you want." I turned and smiled, "Sure, I'll be there." Missing their public embarrassment would be such a waste. Before that, I've got work to do. I started my own media company, hitting both online and offline markets. Business boomed, thanks to the connections and goodwill I'd built up over the years. Betty and her partner jumped over to help. Just watching the online order numbers hit 6 figures had them grinning non-stop. Betty said, our business is booming, and David's doing worse. I had a feeling, oh, what's making it so bad? I heard most of his shares were sold off. Even the rival company bought them. Just a week ago, even that deal he had lined up got swiped. Serves him right, guys like him don't deserve good fortune. I shrugged, still focused on work, whatever. It's not our problem anymore. So, after I got the news about David's wedding, I cancelled my old number. I guess he finally got rid of what he saw as a useless, redundant wife. David overflows with joy. With Amy pushing him, they booked a week-long trip to Thailand. Of course, they don't know that I purposefully had Anna deliver this plan to Amy. While they were having a blast in Thailand, I was all set back home. The project David lost was one I had secretly pulled the strings on. I've been deep in David's company for years, and I know their business inside out. A little nudge, and the other party gets the hint. Sure enough, while David was still on vacation abroad, things were finalized. That afternoon, I met an old friend, Harry. Long time no see. I was a bit surprised, didn't expect you to book this. Why didn't you tell me about the divorce? Harry asked. I was a bit taken aback. Is that something I need to broadcast? Doesn't seem necessary. At least I could have rushed back to help you. His intense gaze made me a bit uneasy. No need, it's a private matter. What's yours is mine, Harry said assertively. Back then, I chased you with him, and you chose him. I accepted it. But now you're single again, I have the right to pursue you. Even though I'm 30 now, hearing such straightforward words still made my heart flutter. Harry, it's true I'm divorced, but I also have a kid. I took a deep breath. From a worldly view, we don't match. You should find someone else. I'm sure with your qualities, you'll have plenty of great girls lining up. But I only want you. I ran off in a hurry. After all I've been through, facing such a passionate emotion again, I don't know how to handle it. Harry seemed to know what I was planning, always probing subtly, but I brushed him off every time. He shows up at my company almost daily, either introducing clients or giving tips on managing the business. Over time, I started to feel a bit awkward. A friend secretly asked me, so, is that Harry guy into you? My ears went hot, don't talk nonsense. I'm not making it up, you can tell by the way he looks at you. Just then, Harry came over, dinner tonight? I was about to refuse when he added, I've been working pretty hard these days, can't we at least have a meal together? With things put that way, I couldn't turn him down. All right, my treat. This time it's on me, so next time you can treat me. That night, I followed Harry to a private dining restaurant. Entering the private room, I was shocked. My parents and daughter were there, and on the other side of the table were Harry's parents. They clearly arrived earlier and were chatting happily. I instinctively looked at Harry, utterly bewildered. What's this guy up to? This wasn't what I imagined dinner would be like at all. Harry seated me, and once the food was served, he spoke up. I asked both parents here today because I've got something from the heart to say. I've kept this thought hidden for years. I love Nina. I've loved her for many years. I want to build a family with her and spend the rest of my life with her. I was stunned, my eyes welling up with warmth. What is he up to? Harry smiled at me, then turned to his parents. You guys know me. Over the years, I tried meeting other women, but how did it turn out? I just can't forget, I can't help it. His dad smiled helplessly, seemingly resigned. His mom said, oh, you're all grown up. You've been stubborn with us all these years. Your dad and I have long accepted it. As long as you're happy. Harry then looked at my parents. Uncle, Auntie, I'm Harry. Here's my information and current financial status. I know Nina just came out of a marriage and can't immediately be with me, but that's fine. I've waited years, I don't mind waiting a bit longer. If you're satisfied with me, could you allow us to be together? In that instant, he seemed like the young boy he once was, nervous, anxious, with a blush reaching from his ears down his neck. He was serious. I recalled all the moments with Harry, realizing he had always been there for me. But back then, I was blind to it, chasing what I thought was true love. Of course, my parents were thrilled. Harry's qualities are far beyond what David could have offered, even with a Lamborghini. The dinner was satisfying for both sides. Harry even prepared a gift for my daughter, displaying a thoughtful side I couldn't match. After dinner, Harry drove us home. Downstairs, he quietly asked, "Have you thought about it? If you think I'm okay, give me a chance." The cool breeze cleared my thoughts. I looked back at this man, calming my excitement and shyness. Yeah, I'm free now. Why not give myself another chance? Embrace all the beauty life offers. That's me. I laughed. You've gone this far, if I don't agree, what's your next move? Harry smiled, then it'd just be a one-man show, like before. I brushed my hair. Better not, having a leading lady is more fun, right? In an instant, his eyes shone brighter than the stars. I thought Harry and I would take it slow, naturally progressing, talking about marriage in maybe 2 or 3 years. Turns out, after we made it official, our relationship took off like wildfire. By Harry's side, I found respect and understanding. We both love reading, sharing, and tackling challenges. He accepts my differences, and I understand his quirks. Being with someone like that, every day feels like spring. Surprisingly, my daughter took a liking to him too. The three of us would have meals and chat daily, and Harry would watch cartoons with her at night. They'd chat away, so much so I couldn't even join in. A month later, Harry took me and my daughter out shopping. We just happened to wander into a bridal shop, and ended up trying on wedding dresses. Then we walked next door and bought some rings and jewelry at the jewelry store. My daughter clapped her hands and said, "Mom, you look so beautiful." I felt a bit dizzy and replied, "Really?" The next things just fell into place. Harry talked to both sets of parents and set a date for our wedding. When I saw the date, I couldn't help but laugh. Harry asked, "What's so funny?" I replied, "It's the same day David and Amy are getting married. Seems like there aren't many good days this month. They all bunched up." Harry grinned and said, "Well, why don't we make it interesting?" We locked eyes, and I knew we were thinking the same thing. It was a perfect day, warm and sunny, and supposedly a lucky day according to the calendar. I chose a traditional Chinese wedding dress with bright red embroidery. It matched Harry's festive outfit perfectly. I entered through a side entrance to the hotel, heading straight to the dressing room to get ready. Once everything was set, I went to the hall to check the wedding setup. Suddenly, someone called my name from behind. "Nina." "Is that you, Nina?" I turned around and saw a familiar face, David, who looked even more thrilled than his voice sounded. We hadn't seen each other in over a month, and he looked quite worn out. "Yeah, it's me," I nodded. David was in a suit, but didn't look like a groom at all. More like someone who got chased by debt collectors. He stared at me in amazement, eyes fixed on my bright red dress. "Nina, I knew you couldn't forget me. You're dressed like this because you want to get back together, right?" He rushed to speak. I was so blind before. Amy wasn't even pregnant, she tricked me. It's all been a big scam. You don't know, she's spent nearly 10 million of my money in just over a month. She's not even fit to tie your shoes. David moved closer, and I stepped back in disgust. He didn't seem to notice and continued, "Nina, we're meant to be. You love me, so you'll forgive me, right? It was just one woman, my heart is still yours. Let's get back together. With you back, my company will get back on track, and we can be a family again." Without me, David's company didn't last long. After all, I had been the one managing everything for years. He didn't know how to handle it on his own. After the scandal broke out, the board members couldn't stand him. Plus, a project got snatched away, and he spent way too much impressing his new flame. The board had enough. As far as I know, David's position in his company is just a title now. He has no real power. Why? Because I sold those crucial shares. David tried to move assets out of the marriage to live his little dream with his mistress. Yeah, right, like I'd let that happen. I watched with interest as he put on quite the show. Until Amy stormed in, grabbing his hair and attacking him. You dare leave me? This is our wedding day. Did you forget? She was as good at throwing a fit as she was flirting, drawing everyone's attention. David, in pain, knocked Amy's hand away and gave her a couple of hard kicks. Get lost. You're a curse. You're the reason I lose everything. You think you can dump me? Dream on. Amy lunged at him again. They rolled around, fighting on the floor. In no time, Amy's wedding dress was torn, skin showing everywhere. David's hair was a mess and blood was trickling down his forehead. They slapped each other repeatedly, ending up with bruised and battered faces. Finally, hotel staff pulled them apart, but they continued to hurl insults at each other. You dog, you approached me. You old man. Witch, liar. Pretending to be pregnant, you just wanted my money. Amy laughed wickedly. Oh really? Look at yourself, no one would be with you for free, thinking everyone's like Nina. She glanced at me. Oh, dressed to take him back, huh? Her eyes were bloodshot, filled with venom. I smiled slowly. Nope. Nope? Then why dress like that? You can have him, if you like. But he owes me for my time with him. David angrily started cursing Amy again. Just then, Harry showed up. What are you doing here? He gently held my shoulder. David's eyes almost popped out. Get your hands off. She's my wife. Wife, do you know him? Harry's voice was soft, with a hint of laughter. Nope, I shook my head. These two are weird, talking nonsense to me. They must be crazy, right? David and Amy were stunned. As if they didn't recognize me, their eyes never left me. David pointed shakily. You're the one who chased Nina. Yep, spent years before she said yes, so I'm gonna cherish her. Harry and I locked fingers and shared a smile. Let's go, I've entered the wrong hall, our wedding is on the other side. Silly wife, got lost already. What did you do without me? I'd say it's you who can't live without me, right? Harry laughed. Yeah, whatever you say, dear. We walked past David and Amy, showing off our affection. David was furious, his chest heaving in anger. He tried to rush us but was held back by the staff. He yelled, Nina! Nina, come back! He wails, a desperate, pleading cry, but it only makes me feel better. And then there was Amy, with her over-the-top, direct mockery. Serves you right. You jerk, she's done with you. She's got someone new. Shut up. David lunged at Amy wildly. The door shut behind them, cutting off the scene of their continued scuffle. I shrugged, a small smile on my lips. Feeling good? Harry asked. Couldn't feel better. It's like a breath of fresh air. What did you originally plan to do with them? I was planning to reveal that Amy wasn't pregnant at their wedding. I didn't expect him to find out beforehand. You kind of swooped in there. Before I could finish, a sudden realization hit me. Was it you who tipped him off about the fake pregnancy? And you who brought him down so quickly at work? Harry leaned down, whispering in my ear with a kiss, You're getting smarter now, my silly wife. I was completely taken aback. He took my hand and pushed open another set of doors. Inside, there were flowers everywhere, set up like a dreamland. This was our wedding. Looking down at our hands tightly clasped, I smiled. The happiness of life is just getting started.